We've learned about adding and subtracting integers and multiplying and dividing integers. So now we want to know what something called an exponent is. So just like multiplication was really adding a whole bunch of numbers together, if we multiply a whole bunch of numbers together, that's where we get exponents. Instead of listing them all out, if we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, it occurs 4 times. That's the same as doing 3 to the 4th. That little exponent up above tells us how many times to multiply the number 3 together. So you do need to be careful because 3 to the 4th, when you multiply it all out, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 again is 27, times 3 again is 81. A very common mistake is to do 3 times 4 and say the answer is 12. You will really want to watch out for that. There are some special exponents where they have their own name, like squared. So to the second power, any number to the second power is being squared. And cubed, any number to the third power. So a 3 up above. So you may hear me say those words, either squared or cubed, as we go through, and that's what they mean. So when a problem asks you to simplify, if it's just one integer with one exponent, we're just going to multiply that out. We can do it by hand. 2 to the 4th means do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And we just go in order. 2 times 2 is 4. Multiply by 2 again. 4 times 2 is 8. And then we have one last 2. 8 times 2 gives us an answer of 16. You can also take this and plug it into a calculator. So when you're plugging it into a calculator, one calculator I really like is called Desmos Scientific. So on this Desmos Scientific calculator, when you plug in 2 to the 4th, you start with the number 2, and you'll see that a squared, that's if your exponent is 2, not if the first integer called the base is a 2. We want to hit the AB. So we've already typed in the 2, that's going to be the bottom, the A. And then when we hit AB, it takes it up above where we can type in the integer, and then the answer is just shown up on the other side. So that is Desmos Scientific calculator. There's lots of them to use though. You can use a phone calculator, any calculator you have, but this is the one I prefer just because it's super user-friendly. You can also be given a problem with a little more going on. We have 5 squared times 5 to the 4th. So we know 5 squared means 5 times 5, and 5 to the 4th means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So 4 of them from 5 to the 4th, 2 of them from 5 squared. So we can multiply them all out from here. We could plug this whole thing into a calculator, or we could count them up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multiplying together. That's the same thing as 5 to the 6th, which we could then also just plug into a calculator. So on this calculator, if you hit enter, it'll give you a new line, or you can clear all and get rid of everything. So we would go 5, AB makes it so we can put in an exponent, 6, gives us 15,625. And that's our final simplified answer. So there's one more type of problem. You could also simplify but have some division going on. So on the top row, 8 to the 4th is 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. On the bottom, there is no exponent, so we only have 1 8. If you're multiplying on top, but you're dividing by some 8s on the bottom, any groups you have, so like we have 1 8 that can cancel with 1 8 on the bottom. If there happened to be, if we had like times 8 again, we could do it a second time. We can only do it as many times as there are matches. So those cancel each other out, and we're left with 8 times 8 times 8, or 8 to the third. So we go to our calculator and type it in. 8 exponent 3 gives us 512. So our final simplified answer is 512. If you're comfortable with your calculator, you could also plug in the original fraction, 8 to the fourth divided by 8. On Desmos, the way we would type that in is 8 exponent 4. Then we want to go back to the main line to make sure we're not up in the exponent anymore and hit the divide button or the fraction button. Either one will work, and then put our 8 on the bottom because it was divided by 8 in the problem, and we still get the answer of 512. So when we do our exponents, the exponent means how many times we multiply the base number together, and often we'll end up using a calculator to type it in and get the final simplified answer.